Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Conversations with Cogee. I'm your host, Cogee. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I'm looking forward to a great week. And what better way to start it than listening to Conversations with Cogee? To my main man, Mr. Jeffrey Deskovic, my co-host. How you doing today, sir?
I'm great, Cogee. I'm great.
The birthday boy.
Happy birthday. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can't think of a better way to celebrate my birthday than to be involved in advocacy activity, and today, for me, that means doing the I've Been Falsely Accused show with you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That was from Foxy, so we got my girl Fox is in with us. What's up, Foxy?
How you doing? How you doing, Jeffrey?
I'm good. I'm great, Foxy.
Okay, how you spending your birthday?
What's that?
How are you spending your birthday?
Well, I'm doing 2 hours of the show today with Cogee, and then I'm doing some karaoke for my birthday, a bunch of exonerees and myself and some people from the Innocence Project and other people I'm friendly with through my advocacy work. We're going to get together and sing a few songs and cut a cake and, do a little toast to Bill and enjoy the night.
That's cool, definitely. Well, in the second hour, that's Jeffrey's hour. We're going to honor him. We're going to give him our own little birthday hour, and treat him right. And also, he'll bring us up to speed and tell us what all we need to know. But, today's show is a very, very special show, everybody, which every one of them are. But anytime that we have an exoneree that comes out after 28, 29 years, all that time being put away for nothing, we definitely got to celebrate, and we got to love on this person. When this person come on the show, we got to let them know, man, we love you, we appreciate you, we sorry that it happened to you, but we got your back. Some of us didn't even know about the ordeal until now, but I'm glad that, I got firsthand to deal with it, where I can definitely show, David, that, I do care about him. I want the best for him, and anything I can do with my radio show that can push him higher to where he needs to be, because he's got a lot of life to catch up with. And we're going to talk about a lot of it, as we go on. He's got his attorney with him, Oscar Michelen, he'll be in, and he's definitely going to break it down to us about a lot of stuff. Me and him been talking off the air. We definitely going to do some work together, and get in a lot of knowledge to try to help people understand about when they get locked up, when they falsely accused, what they should do, what they shouldn't do, how they should deal with something, how they shouldn't deal with it, how they should study their case and not let attorney just make you feel like he got you covered. That's the problem now. A lot of attorneys say, hey, I got you. Don't worry about this. It's in the bag. We can get this. I'm going to get this on the first go-round. Just trust me, but I need $5,000. Okay, on this next go-round, they laid it over. We coming back again. All right, on this one, it's going. We might have to go to jury trial. Now I need like $8,000. So come on, man. It really comes down to, and that's why I want to talk to Oscar, and me and him definitely going to, talk off the air, and we're going to put something together. People need to know how to deal with their own case, so when they talking to attorneys, and attorneys are telling you, okay, well, we're going to do this on this grounds right here, and you can say, no, hold on. Now, right here, that ain't right. You know what I'm saying? Don't represent me like that. If I'm paying you $5,000, $8,000, $50,000, if I'm paying you $50, you're supposed to be doing my case the right way, the way it's supposed to be done. And that's what I want to teach people. I want people to not be dumbed down to the attorneys either. I want them to be able to know what sounds right, what sounds wrong, and definitely get, a second and third opinion. How important is that, Jeffrey? You done been through that ordeal. How important is it, Jeffrey, what I just said?
Oh, it's extremely important, Coach. So many of us, who are wrongfully convicted now, we find out only too late that the lawyer did not, in fact, have everything well in hand, and that they didn't have us covered, and we just regret that we didn't really make the attorneys explain to us exactly how they're going to defend it, why it's the right way to go, give us the full pros and cons, and educate us so we can make an informed decision, man. That's crucial what you just said.
That's right. You're definitely right about that. Now, Jeffrey, how special is it for us to have David on the show, as well as Oscar, man, somebody else who's more dedicated in fighting a case, while David was in prison going through his ordeal, trying to, survive, stay alive, and deal with doing his years, with his hopes to get out, knowing he was going to come out, but he just didn't know when. But then you have somebody like Oscar, attorney, that's fighting for you night and day, night and day. How important is that, man, when you have that other person linking up with you? And I ain't going to say rest easy, but you can rest a little better knowing that in some way and in God's timing, I will get out because this person is relentless and he does care about my freedom.
Oh, it's crucial. I mean, that's what you pin your hopes on, Cogee. Other than that, then your preoccupation is, can I find somebody who's willing to try to help me out? But it's a much better position when you have somebody to help you out.
That's right. You definitely right about that.
You got someone to help you out, that's legit, to know what they're doing. Then you got a shot. Without that, you got no shot.
That's right.
That's why there's so many of us, write letters that are trying to get representation, because we know it's only with obtaining competent representation that it's a possibility. Just a possibility only that the truth could come out and we can be clear. Without that, there's virtually none.
That's right. You definitely right about that. Now, another thing I want to ask you real quick, Jeffrey, what don't people understand about what Mr. David McCallum, what did he have to go through mentally and what did he go through physically when he was in prison? You get what I'm trying to say? Like I know he went through the mental state of knowing I'm here for something that I didn't do, and that's mind wrecking altogether. But to be there and when you're wearing your health and everything, what don't people understand about doing a false bid? Jeffrey, hello? Oh, Jeffrey must have dropped off. Okay, so what I was saying, the question I was asking, okay, he must have dropped off. Okay, let me do this real quick. I'm gonna go to Cedric. Cedric, welcome to being in the show today.
What's going on, man? Glad to be here.
Cedric, let me ask you a question. What kind of mental stress do you think you would have been under if you would have got sentenced for 29 years on a lie? What mental state would you have been in, and how do you think, you would have dealt with it? Real quick.
Man, that would have been hard to deal with, man, being in a situation that that you're innocent on and you just doing time to be doing it.
You leaving family, children, your life, everything.
Everything, man. I've been through that. You know what I'm saying? Bid of 6,
right.
And stayed away from my kids.
Wow.
And, it was rough. It's rough being away from family and, family coming to see you and stuff, and then you can't go back with them.
Man, you must feel that. You went right back to that moment, dude. Your eyes watered instantly, dude.
Dude, I know, because my mom came to see me, man. It was coming up to a holiday, and, like she said, my baby won't be there,
right.
for the eat the food that we're going to have there.
Right.
And, and then, I get a chance to, my mom just surprised me. She bring my daughter to see me, you know what I'm saying? And it was just, my mom always had my back.
I hear you, man. I hear you, definitely. Let me go. Jeffrey.
Yes.
I'm going to go to you real quick, then we're going to move on and we'll be getting the show going. Jeffrey, the question I had asked you was real quick, bring our listeners up to speed and everybody around the world. I want to thank y'all for listening to us. I want to thank you for the great comments. I want to thank you for supporting us, liking our show, passing our show to different people. We do appreciate you. But Jeffrey, I want to ask you this. What don't our listeners understand about being put away for 28 or 29 years, that what David went through mentally and physically in prison, real quick?
Well, there's an extreme amount of violence, and then, that's the prison environment. There's this verbal abuse from the guards. There's the physical violence that goes on around you in terms of the prisoners. Mentally, you fight a battle against not just the false charges, which involves going against the courts and, going against the DA, but then you fight in a mental battle within yourself, not to give up. You got to fight off feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, depression. Thoughts of suicide pop in the mind every now and then.
That's right. You definitely right about that, my brother.
I feel you, though.
Now, what I want to do real quick, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get right to our guests, and we're going to hear it right from both of them. We're going to hear everything I just asked. We're going to hear it from the real people who was in the fight, the real people who dealt with the case, the real people who, had to withstand being accused of something they didn't do, attorney who's fighting to show this man is innocent. We got the real fighters in. We got the real champions. So like I said, I'm going to dedicate this song to all three of y'all right now because y'all shining. Now everybody's out. Everybody's free, thanks to Oscar. And like I said, it's time for everybody to shine. And to you, Jeffrey, happy birthday, brother. You shine today, all right?
All right, that's great, Coach.
All right, and we'll be right back. Everybody stay locked in. We're going to jump right back into the show real quick. Hey, we back, everybody. Welcome back to the Conversations. I've been falsely accused radio show today. I got so many shows, I'm getting confused. Jeffrey, you with me?
Absolutely.
So, Jeffrey, what you think about the song? Are you ready to shine and do this show and help David? Make him shine like new money today. What you think?
Absolutely, Coach. Always.
All right, and Oscar as well. So we're not gonna wait no longer. We got Mr. David McCallum. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much.
David, so how did you feel about this song? Was it an inspiration? Is it your time to shine?
Oh, without a doubt, man. When I was incarcerated, it was music that really helped facilitate, my motivation in so many ways. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir. And let the people know, how many years were you gone, David?
I was gone 29 years, and I would say a long 29 years, to be honest with you.
Right. And when I say this one person's name, I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Mr. Oscar Michelen.
Wow. Put me on a spot there because there's so many adjectives I can use to describe him. So I'll just be very simple and answer your question by saying absolutely committed.
I hear you, man. How important is that to somebody who's facing the time that you was facing, and you didn't do it?
Oh, it's absolutely important, man. I can tell you just by this experience alone that not having, let alone legal representation, but I would say very good legal representation, is very, very hard to come by in prison. So when you come across an attorney like Oscar, for example, you should be blessed in every way possible because there are a number of individuals incarcerated as we speak who did not have or who do not have the kind of opportunity that I had to be represented by a very committed and professional attorney who was obligated and determined from the very beginning to represent me in the best way possible, and can't thank him enough for that.
I hear you, man. That's right. Now, before I bring him in, I want to ask you one more question. What hurt your case in the beginning with the attorney that you had, other than he didn't do his job? But other than that, if you could do it all over again, what would you do different to our listeners? Because I always want, whenever I have guests on the show, I want you and Oscar to teach. As I ask y'all a question, I want y'all to teach as well. What would you have done different with your attorney? What you know now, what would you have done different with your first attorney that you think could have been a better outcome?
Sure. The very first thing I would have done with him is demand a meeting with him to sit down and to discuss the case in detail, because therein lies the problem with my relationship with him. We never had the opportunity to sit down and go over the case even adequately to just get an idea of how representation or how the case should go. So because those things didn't happen, that basically put myself and I guess the attorney, for that matter, behind the eight ball, so to speak. So I would say preparation, more than anything, at least at the very beginning of the case, was essential. But unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Right. So when I opened the show and I was breaking everything down, did I hit it on the nose somewhat?
Oh, without a doubt. Of course, there's other additional factors, too, that come with that, but I'm sure you know that already.
That's right.
But, yes, you absolutely nailed it.
Yeah,
yes, unfortunately.
Right, because one thing, I was going to go to law school, so I'm really up on my game when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. So that's why I said it's a lot of things. That's why I want people to hear from you and from Oscar, and we'll bring him right in. Oscar, thank you for being on the show today. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Cogee.
And
Jeff, how are you? Happy birthday, and congratulations on resolving your civil case.
Thanks a lot, Oscar. Yeah, great meeting you again. By the way, Coach, Oscar and I were on another show. 10 was it 10 wins or was it BA?
It was WBLS.
WBLS, Oscar. Yeah. Oscar and I were on WBLS, and he was pushing David's case then. And of course, Oscar has come by in the past to my foundation and just consult a little bit with the staff attorney. So, Oscar's been around.
Right. You know that's right. Well, I definitely want to say, Oscar, I do appreciate you. And, hey, God bless you and thank God for you when it comes to, our exonerees and what they're going through. Because, like I said, I'm pretty sure a lot of people that, are in prison right now and they really didn't do it, but they got this stuck on them, and now they got to live under being a rapist, a murderer, a child molester and everything. And that ain't even their style. And that's something that they wouldn't have never done. But they have this stigma put on them right now, and they got to face the whole world with it until it's proven that they didn't do it. How important is that for you to reach out and help somebody with that, Oscar, when you run across these certain cases that went on so long and you can see gaps, you can see neglect, you can see foul play, you can see everything in these cases? How important is it for you to try to get them out as quick as possible because they already done wasted enough of their life on a lie?
Well, that's part of the problem, Cogee, with these cases is that there's more of them than any one lawyer can have time to get involved in.
Right.
I would say that not a week goes by that we don't get a letter, and I'm sure Deskovic Foundation gets the same, has the same experience in that they get letters every week, from people asking for help, and there's only so many resources to go around, and it's heartbreaking. You have to kind of pick and choose who you can devote your time, because we don't deal with DNA cases that just, you go send out something for DNA, and if the DNA doesn't match, the person gets exonerated. That's really the specialty of the Innocence Project and other organizations. Mm-hmm. The cases that I've dealt with over the last 12 years or so have been non-DNA cases like David, which require investigation. They require really reading the record. And I would say that the thing that always strikes me is how well, the wrongfully convicted themselves know their case and fight their cause. In all three of my cases, but particularly in David, they became excellent writers, scholars in the law in their own right, able to write motions and things of that nature on their own, and provide tremendous assistance to us as we were helping them, along the way. So, along with what David said about preparing, it's really also important for those who are incarcerated waiting for their trial to get educated themselves, learn the facts of their case, learn the law in the case, challenge their lawyers, question them about what they're doing right from the very, very beginning, and get involved in the case, and not just trust that the lawyer is, doing his or her job.
Right. You know what? Now, let me ask you this real quick, Oscar, because like I said, when it comes to this show, not only am I giving you an interview, but I want you to teach in the process. What can a person do? I just want people to understand this. When you have an attorney and you in the middle of a trial, or you going through your preliminaries or whatever, and you feel this attorney don't have the best representation for you, can you ask the judge to hold on? Can I have a motion? Or can I have a little bit more time? I don't want this attorney to represent me. He is not on his job. He's not doing his job, adequately like he should be doing. I don't feel comfortable moving forward with this trial with this attorney. Can you do that?
You would think it would be easy to do that, but the fact is that it just isn't, particularly if you're using a court-appointed attorney or legal aid attorney. You'd have to really show some kind of a conflict. You can't just say, I don't like what he's doing. You'd have to be very specific, and you'd have to point out what the issues are that are requiring you to change lawyers. Also, if you're too close to your trial date, and they might think it might be a tactic to delay a hearing or delay a trial, they would not allow you to change at the last minute. So it's not as easy as you might think. And you'd have to try to get folks on the outside, your families, to keep after the lawyer as well, and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do, while you're incarcerated, to make sure that the lawyer's doing their job. But very often, the person you get assigned to, you can be stuck with that person unless something really major comes along.
Right. So I guess it goes back to real quick what you said. You really need enough time and enough meetings with this attorney to really see where their thinking is and where their strategy is. And the first time you go into court with them, you ought to be able to see if y'all are kind of set up for a win, or it could be a tie or a loss, right?
Yeah, you have to know what your issues are and make sure that they're covering them. And I would say send them demands in writing also, so that they force the lawyer to write back to you and create a record of you trying to reach out to this person. If your lawyer's not communicating with you and you come to court and you say, here are 10 letters I've written my lawyer in the last 6 weeks and he hasn't responded, that's going to be stronger than just saying to the judge, my lawyer never gets back to me. So you got to be diligent, follow up, do it in writing, and know what the issues are. And it's got to happen at the outset of the case all the way through to the trial. It's vitally important that you stay on top of your case and stay on top of your lawyer.
Okay. Now I'm going to go to David real quick. Thank you, Oscar. That was great advice. I'm going to go to you real quick, David. David, I'm going to say, on the day that you were accused of this situation, where were you and how did you get the news of something that you didn't even do? But you can bring our listeners up to speed real quick of what you got convicted of and what you done time for as well.
Okay, sure. On the day that I was arrested, I was actually doing what teenagers do. I was hanging out with some friends in front of a game room, in Bushwick. And, I was approached by a detective and asked would I like to come down to the precinct for questioning. He had my photo in his hand. And so I said, sure, understanding that I didn't do anything wrong. So I volunteered to go down to the precinct with this detective and others. And once we got in the squad car, I, of course, got in the back seat with another detective, and one on each side of me, as a matter of fact. And so they placed the handcuffs on me, and the red flag went up immediately when I noticed the cuffs were placed on very, very tightly. And see, and now that I reflect back on that now, that's actually when I think the intimidation factor actually started. Because, what that did was that alerted me to, wow, I'm not just going down into the precinct just for questioning, but at the same time, I was naive, of course, as a 60-year-old kid. I didn't know what the heck was going on until we actually got down to the precinct.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So when we got down to the precinct, I was put in a holding cell in a very, very small room with no windows, and I was asked questions about, did I know anything about someone being shot in the park a week before? And I said no. And so at that point, I was, slapped in the face and then threatened to be hit in the head with a chair if I didn't confess to the crime. So that's what happened.
Right. Now, for any now I'm gonna come back real quick, and now I want you to teach. For any young person or anybody who just heard what you said right now, if you could do it all over again, we're going to rewind it, we're going to come back forward. If you could do it all over again, being the 44-year-old David that you are now, how would you have handled that situation, and how should it be handled?
Wow, that's, I think, very easy to answer in hindsight now, and thanks for the question. Well, what I would propose and what I would recommend to anyone in that situation is to request a attorney and understand what is being read to you in terms of your Miranda rights. You have a right to remain silent, and I would encourage anyone under any circumstances, for that matter, to stay committed to that, because had I done that then, a lot of this, I think, would have or could have been avoided.
Right. Now, even with the verbal abuse and the abuse that they gave you, how would you have dealt with that as well?
Wow, it's kind of hard to say in that particular situation, because at that time I was under what I consider extreme duress. Extreme duress. So I guess what I would have done is I've thought about this countless times during my 20 years of incarceration. I don't know what I guess let the police continue beating on me. I guess in hindsight, that's kind of easy to say at this point.
Right.
But, of course, when you're 16 years old and very naive about the criminal justice system, knowing that the police would not have beaten me, I guess, too badly as to leave any sort of bruises, knowing that they were going to at least force me to make a videotape confession, then who knows? But that's a very, very difficult question to answer. So I would hope that I did what I could in my response.
Right.
And Cogee, that the minute you ask for a lawyer, if you keep insisting on asking for a lawyer, that's supposed to end the question. Now, does it always end the questioning? No, but it puts the police more on a spot. If you just keep holding fast to that conviction and just don't even deny the crime, don't even admit the crime, nothing. Just say, I want to speak with an attorney. A lot of people feel that if I ask for a lawyer, it's going to make me look guilty. That's not the concern. You want to protect yourself, and the right to remain silent is meant to protect the innocent. It's not meant to protect the guilty. It's not it wasn't created by our founding fathers to protect the guilty. It was specifically created to protect the innocent. So invoking it, is your right, and there's no reason to talk to police about a police investigation into a crime without having a lawyer present. So, that's the step one. You got to constantly insist on your right to speak to counsel.
Okay, there it is. Definitely right about that. You know what? Now let me ask you another question real quick, David. I'm gonna go back to you real quick. What don't people understand about not only did you lose time, but explain what else you lost that people don't understand, who just hear these cases come across the news and they look at it like, oh, well, he just lost time. I'm sorry, he got convicted or something like that. Let people know deeply and emotionally what all you lost that they don't understand.
Wow. Well, first and foremost, I lost a friend, Willie Stuckey, and, he was a friend of mine from the neighborhood. And so when I walked out of the courtroom, it was literally a bittersweet moment for me, because I know I wasn't walking out alone, as I've said before. And it's so real now. Family members, for example, my father, passed away in 2005. And I wasn't allowed to go to his funeral, but I was allowed to go to his wake. But being handcuffed at a wake in front of other people, it's a very, very humiliating experience, I would say.
Right.
And so when you talk about those particular losses, in addition to just not being able to, enjoy your, teenage years, your younger years, years that you absolutely will not get back, was devastating to me and my family as well. And so when I re-entered to the community, in most ways, I'm lost, really, because I'm behind the eight ball. I really don't know what's really happening around me. So that being said, without a great support system, that I've had and that I continue to have, who has somewhat made the transition a little bit more smoothly, at least early on, I would be totally lost at this point. I mean, totally. So time does so many different things to you. But what it does the most, in my opinion, is it affects everyone who is associated with you on some level.
That's right. That's right. You're definitely right about that. Yes. Now, let me ask you another question real quick. I'm going to move fast. Jeffrey, get ready. I'm coming to you next. What I want to ask you right now, David, is if anybody's listening right now around the world, locally, in your city or wherever, and if it's anything you wanted to do right now, anything that you need help with right now, what could somebody help you with? What could somebody give you an opportunity to do that you feel like a help enhance your life right now while you out, help you catch up somewhat back into society, help you have the car you always wanted, the house you probably would have had, anything that you can do to start fulfilling your life? What could somebody help you do if they just wanted to help an innocent man get back on his feet, just, out of the grace of God?
Wow, okay, thanks for the question. Well, I'm not a materialistic person by any means. I think when you're in prison, you sort of you learn sort of the values of and the importance of just living in general. And so I'm not a materialistic person. I think for someone like me, having been away for so long, I think conversation is important, just to have someone to talk to. And I don't mean just to have casual conversations. I mean conversations about life in general. Because I think when I was in prison, for the most part anyway, I've seen where, lack of communication really, really stunts the growth and development of a person while they're incarcerated. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm out, I think for me, conversation is more important. And I'm almost sure that Oscar can answer the latter part of that question, if it's okay.
Okay, but hold on. Okay, I'm gonna go to Oscar real quick. But what I was saying was opportunity wise. I'm not materialistic. Opportunity wise, somebody can give you the right opportunity that'll guide your life for the rest of your life. You get what I'm saying?
Oh,
that's what I was talking about.
Do.
Opportunity
Absolutely.
wise. I'm sorry.
Yes, employment is always important, and it was important to me while I was incarcerated. And I've noticed over time, just by sheer just reading and just developing and accumulating and obtaining information, that employment is a very, very difficult thing to come across. And so understanding that and realizing, of course, where I've came from, I think opportunity to seek employment or obtain employment is very important, because I think when I was incarcerated, I was blessed to be able to achieve a lot of different things in terms of vocation and therapeutic programming. So I have the ability to work, and I don't mind working, and that's something that I would really like for anyone who's interested to at least have a conversation with me about that.
What are some of your trades, and what are you good at, and what are your specialties that if you get in that certain field, you can shine in it and you'll do great?
Oh, sure. I think social work comes to mind almost immediately. I can facilitate programs. I can run programs where I can speak about alternatives to violence, just based on my experience and experiences that I've seen during my incarceration. Vocation. I can mason build. I can do maintenance work. You name it, I can pretty much do it. But for me, because coming from the background that I've come from and the experiences that I've come from, I think social work would be very, very important to me, and I'm almost sure that whoever gives me the opportunity, I would not let them down by any means.
Okay. And you feel like social work will be great for you because you still getting therapy as well as you helping to social work somebody else, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And because of that experience, as I said, because of that experience, I really believe that I can do a pretty good job in that area. I'm almost sure of that.
I hear you, and I believe you, man. You sound like your spirits is up. You don't sound bitter. What makes you not be bitter? When did you get past your bitterness?
Well, I've gotten past it a long time ago, but to sit here on the telephone with you and say that I'm not angry by it would be really unfair to everybody and to your audience. I think what I've been able to do with my anger is to transfer it into something more constructive, So while I'm in prison and I'm of course not happy with my situation, I felt like to a large part, just being angry would not really solve my issues, So what I just did was I just put my head down and just started doing other things while I was incarcerated to sort of prepare myself so that if I was ever released from prison, I would at least have some kind of idea of how to get things started, knowing that there was going to be a long road ahead.
That's right. I hear you. Jeffrey.
Yes, Cogee.
You got a question?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up, Cogee?
Hi, it's on you. You want to ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. So, David, how does being in a world where the technology is much different from what it was when you left it, how does that make you feel, though? When they got internet, cell phone, and GPS, and all this technology that didn't exist before. I mean, does that make you feel disoriented in any way? Does it make you feel like a fish out of water, or?
Oh, absolutely it does. In fact, it makes me feel very, very different, And the best example I can actually give in terms of responding to that question is my experience that I've had the day previously when I was released, after I was released. And so I'm on a train and I see this guy standing on the platform got his head buried in the phone, and the train is fastly approaching the station. And so I want to just yell out to this guy, "Yo, man, are you okay?" But at the same time, and I was told much later that that's a normal occurrence. And so for me, when I hear that and actually see that for myself, I was really blown away by that. And just seeing people just walk down the street, crossing streets with their heads buried in phones, seemingly not having any care in the world about where they were going, about cars. And so all that stuff was absolutely unbelievable to me. And the technology, from what I was told, that you need that in this today's society. And so what I did was I just made some promises to myself that if I do start utilizing this technology, that I would take certain precautions not to do certain things at certain times. Mm-hmm. And I was just kind of draw back on my experiences in prison, for that matter, in terms of what not to do in order to make sure that I stay healthy, if you know what I mean. So right. Those things are important to me, and just seeing a different world, just in general, just seeing people walk down the street, people walking quick, people walking fast, going about their everyday lives, just absolutely existed, of course, when I was in the street, but at the same time, even now, it just seems different. It just seems that people are just walking much quicker and with a purpose, and I think that's what kind of helps, the New York City landscape, and there's, I guess, a familiarity to that as well. So, yeah.
Okay. So, Oscar, I want to ask you something real quick, Oscar.
Yes.
I want to go to you and say, with you being a professor and you teaching law students, what is something that you are really trying to instill in them when you give them the message that you're giving them when it comes to law?
Well, the value of hard work, there's no substitute for it. I've been practicing 30 years. I've been trying to find a quick way around it all 30 years, and I haven't come across it. You've got to know your case. You've got to spend the time. You got to believe in the case, even if the facts are against you, and you want to do the best job that you can for your client. But there's just no substitute from it. And most importantly, is to have a thought of what's the message of the case? What's the theme? What are you going to try to present to a jury? And that has to start developing from the beginning,
right,
as far as how you plan and prepare your case. Too often, especially with folks who don't have the resources to get, qualified counsel, the trial lawyer will pick up the file, a week or two and start looking at it and start figuring out, what am I going to say, who am I going to talk to, and you know what, that case is almost already over.
Mm-hmm.
So, the DAs have lived with the file from the beginning. They have the police department conducting their investigation. You got to get in there and do the hard work, and that's where you can help bring your client into it, give him some things to do, and work with them to try to prepare properly. But my thing always, I tell my trial students, the 5 P's of a successful trial attorney is: number 1 is preparation, number 2 is preparation, number 3 is preparation, and so is 4 and 5. There's no substitute for hard work, unfortunately.
Right. Well, I want to make it a little bit shorter than that, if I can, Oscar. So basically, what you're saying to our listeners all around the world, and I want y'all to hear this, is the way you play in practice is the way you play in the game.
Exactly.
Bingo.
You got to be ready. You got to know that case better than your adversary, better than the judge. Let the jury see that, and think about how you're going to say what you're going to say to the jury. You mentioned in the opening, I heard the 2 things. False confessions, which is in David's case, and the witness pointing the person out from the witness box. You can't wait for that to happen at trial. You have to condition the jury to expect that.
That's right.
And take that thunder away from the prosecution. In every jury selection, I do that. I'll go right to the witness box and say, ladies and gentlemen, someone's going to be in this witness box. They're going to sit here. They're going to swear to God. They're going to look at my client. They're going to say he did it. Is the case over?
That's right.
And what that does is it takes that thunder away from the prosecution. So now when it happens, it doesn't have that dramatic effect.
Right.
But if you don't plan, if you don't think about those things, you don't talk about those things to the jury, it's over before it starts. And too many lawyers don't concentrate on jury selection and the theory of their cases, and what that all comes from preparing. Saying, what am I going to tell this jury? What are we going to have to talk about? What are the hard parts of the case?
That's right.
And it's a tragedy when I review these cases. You see how lawyers just get up there and say, can you follow the law? Do you promise to keep an open mind? You're not doing anything for your client.
Got that right.
You got to be aggressive.
You definitely right about that. And that's why when I opened the show today, with the way I was speaking and what I was saying was aggressiveness right out the gate is what I was bringing. Did you agree with anything that I said, Oscar?
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I agree 100% with that.
Right, because you got to be aggressive coming out the gate. And that's something that me and Jeffrey teach constantly. We constantly teach people, stop letting somebody else hold the chain to your situation. Sometimes you got to break that leash. You know what I'm saying? You got to break it. You got to let them know, hey, you know what? I didn't do it. This is how I can prove I didn't do it. But you got to be my mouthpiece, and you going to examine and let people see why I didn't do it. Now, I want to go to David real quick. David, I want to ask you another question. How does it feel to have to sit there and hear all these things being said about you and not show no emotion, because that emotion can sway your case?
Oh, yeah, it was very difficult because, number one, I'm sitting there and I really fully don't understand what is actually being said about me. That's number one. Number two, I have people sitting in the jury who's looking at me, and I'm actually afraid to make eye contact with them because I'm nervous and I'm afraid, So when you compound those things together, it was very hard to do.
And then on top of that, when you have an attorney that's standing up in front of you and talking, and you hearing him going the wrong direction, but no matter what, I got to sit here with a regular face and not do a certain face to throw off the jury, but I know he's going in the wrong direction. How hard is that?
That is very difficult because, it actually happened during certain instances of the trial, for example. He's misleading the court. He's giving out misinformation about the case. And I want to pull him to the side and say, look, Mr. Murdo, this is, I think this is not what, happened in this particular situation. But in doing that, I thought at the time that it would look bad in front of the jury. And, again, I became extremely hesitant to say certain things to my attorney during trial. And I believe that, had I maybe said something to him anyway, he probably would have just sort of brushed me off. But those are the kind of things that goes on during a trial, especially when you have a client there that's afraid and scared about what's actually happening around them. So when you factor all those things into the equation, that hurts the case in so many ways.
That's right. You're definitely right about that. Now, we down to short time, but I want to ask you, David, I already talked to Oscar, and Oscar said it's okay with him because we're down to 4 minutes. Are you able to call back in at the 4 o'clock hour, and we're going to finish it up because I got to do my interview with Jeffrey real quick because Jeffrey got to leave for his birthday, and me, you, and Oscar, we'll finish it up in the 4 o'clock hour to end the show. Is it okay?
That's fine.
Okay, all right. Because like I said, I wanted to get 2 hours with you because it's a lot that needs to be heard from you and from Oscar, and all of us as a collaborative team. Because, like I said, I don't want to fool our listeners. I don't want them to think it's going to be a cakewalk. No, it's a dogfight once you get in that situation. I want y'all to call back into the show and we'll finish this up. Is that cool?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's okay with me. Yep, okay.
Okay, hold on. Let me go to Oscar real quick. Oscar, words of encouragement to our listeners on why they should tune back, why they should have pen, why they should have paper, and why when we say certain things, they have their laptops, our phones open, and go to these cases and go to this information and look it up as we're talking.
Right. Well, like David said, the most important thing is communication, and we need folks to concentrate on this issue. And wrongful convictions is a tragedy of this country, and the two men that we're on the phone with, Jeffrey and David, are fitting examples of how they're both going to commit their lives to helping others who are in the same situation. So we would definitely ask your listeners to please pay attention, listen to what's going on, and get involved.
Okay, you're definitely right about that. So to anybody that's listening, please tune back in, but don't tune out at all because me and Jeffrey, we definitely got a conversation we got to have. Then on top of that, we're celebrating with Jeffrey in the second hour. It's his birthday. He deserves it. I mean, Jeffrey works non-stop, so he can at least have one day where he can just, let his hair down, take his tie off and throw it in the trunk, undo his shirt, and have a ball. So I'm pretty sure that's what he's going to do anyway. But David, with you and Oscar, I do thank y'all for the first hour. And like I said, y'all stay locked in and stay tuned in. So we're going to do it again. All right?
I sure will.
All right. Much love, guys. I'm looking forward to it.
Take care, Jeffrey. We'll be in touch.
Bye-bye.
All right. Okay. So, everybody, this is the I've Been Falsely Accused radio show. That was Mr. David McCallum and attorney Oscar Michelen. And they definitely going to be back in. Like I said, Mr. David McCallum, he done 29 years falsely accused. The attorney, Oscar Michelen, he definitely, got on his job and done what he needed to do to get him free, him and a lot more other people. And we're going to talk about that too. And like I said, Jeffrey, it's your hour coming up in the second hour. And I definitely want to thank you. And I want to say happy birthday to you, Jeffrey, right before we go into the break. And I wish I was there to enjoy it with you, but I'm not. You was out here with me, you know what I'm saying, in Vegas, you know what I'm saying? We would definitely have a good time. So everybody stay locked in and stay tuned in, and we'll be right back. And like I said, we're going to keep shining all the way through. And to everybody out there who done lost hope, this is your faith. This is why you need to check out our shows. You need to gain that energy back. You need to have that feeling of I can overcome whatever I need to overcome. Why? Because I have great teachers. I have great friends. I have a host of others that love me all around the world. And we all chime in as one strong family to help each other make it through. I'm your host, Cogee, with my main man, Mr. Jeffrey Deskovic. We'll be right back.